Irving is actually buried standing on his head to never achieve rest. And on top of it, Jane Maria Johnson is buried in her family plot near the entrance of Basra Rural Cemetery, where Irving is still buried in that same cemetery, but is actually buried in the woods towards the Antic River. And his stone, the epitaph, actually details the murder of Jane Maria Johnson. So it's things like that it's and one of my
you never know what goes on, you know, behind people's backs, that, you know, they could have been talking like, oh, this poor guy wants to marry this wealthy man's daughter, and yeah, sometimes you never know, and things like that could go on today. Starting people talking and whispering, gossiping. It's kind of sad how it can get out of hand.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because just the fact that this is right here in our backyard, again, things that as you're saying, could still, of course, happen today, but that are little pieces of history, little pieces of folklore.
Yes, that's very interesting.
That are still
there. That makes good summer reading.
Yeah. Both books are definitely, they're easy to read because they're short chapters.
That's nice, and you can read some of it and put it down, and you know, pick it up and read some more later on.
Right.
So that's kind of nice for. Now you don't. This is for all ages, right? High school. You know, adults.
Right.
So while the high school kids are off from school, this is a nice book that maybe be interested in reading for the summer. Or for anyone who enjoys reading. Sounds like very interesting, and I wouldn't mind getting one of these books, I think. Keep in my shelf of my books on history, and I enjoy that, and it's local.
Right.
So,
yep. Yes, everything is Connecticut, and since I'm from Eastern Connecticut, from Norwich, there is quite a lot about Eastern Connecticut in the book.
Yes, these stories I never heard of these stories before.
Right.
So it's really nice to, you know, be able to have a book like that where you can actually have these little fragments of Connecticut history in a book like this, you know, in people's life stories or lore, folklore.
Right, and there is a combination. There are definitely some historic events that are detailed in the book, and other ones that are probably extremely fabricated, and that's the fun about folklore, is that the fact, in fact, doesn't have to be fact.
Yes. So, where can people purchase this book if the viewers watching this show would like to purchase your book? Where can they purchase it?
So online retailers such as Amazon and my publisher Schiffer Publications, so it's their website. Also Barnes & Noble is one of the Books A Million as well. And
it's a Waterford Mall.
Waterford.
Mall.
But locally in the Norwich area, they're also available. Book Barn is a great, they're in Niantic, is a wonderful store. Also locally at the Slater Museum gift shop, Bacchus Hospital gift shop. So a lot of many of the independent bookstores in the region, such as the Book Club, which is over in South Windsor, I believe now, as well as that bookstore in Glastonbury, Bank Square Books in Mystic. So the local area bookstores typically do carry it, as well as, again, the major online retailers, I believe even Walmart, Target, if you go online there.
So is it also on the website?
So it's on the, so it's on the Schiffer Publications website, as well as those major retailers like Barnes & Noble's website, Amazon.com, and Target, Walmart websites as well.
Okay.
And there's also a website in conjunction with the book that's called backyardroadtrips.com. which doesn't just talk about folklore, but talks about history and travel in particular.
Okay. Now, how long did it take you to gather the information, the lores in this book?
Sure. The first book, I knew a lot of these stories from growing up, so I had a lot of knowledge of that. And the basis of the book was my senior thesis in college, where I took out the chapters that were not about Connecticut. I made it just on Connecticut and made it less academic. So I submitted that to my publisher in 2011, and I spent about a year and a half writing it. It was about a year and a half for both books. The difference was, though, that the second collection was kind of an interesting backstory, just because some of the stories in there were ones that just didn't fit in the first one that I had, but many of them were in there because of readers and because of people coming up to me during book readings, book signings, and different book events, that they would say, "Oh, do you know of Wells Woods?" I said, "No, I've never heard of it. That might be something you're interested in." At that point, I would take the idea of Wells Woods, which happens to be in Columbia, and find out what it is or what it was. Is there enough information that I could have to make it a full chapter? If it was, I'd write about it. If not, sometimes I'd include it as part of a chapter, and sometimes there would just be dead ends. But it was very neat where most of these places were new to me as well. So I didn't have the backstory and the history with them that I did with the stories in the first collection.
Okay. So most of these lores, they all come from Connecticut, correct?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
So everything in the two books are only Connecticut.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
All right, so I'd like to thank you.
Thank you.
For being my guest today. And I hope if you get a chance, you will read these books, have it on your shelf in your library. So thank you for watching my show today, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.